Good morning, ladies. Happy Wednesday. I hope this message finds you well. Rise on up. It is Wednesday, midweek. If you have breath and you woke up, you have a purpose. Don't waste your day. God gave it to you for a reason. I assure you, the more you work at whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, He will be at the end line as long as it's His perfect will. Whoever needed to hear that. However, working from the house this morning for a little while and then heading into the office for some training events, we are going to hop on Esther chapters 3 and 4 today. And verse 1 goes like this. After these things, King Ahasuerus promoted Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes who were with him. And all the king's servants who were with the king, within the king's gates, bowed and paid homage to Haman, for so the king had commanded concerning him. But Mordecai would not bow or pay homage. Then the king's servants who were within the king's gate said to Mordecai, "Why do you transgress the king's command?" Now it happened when they spoke to him daily and he would not listen to them, that they told it to Haman to see whether Mordecai's words would stand, for Mordecai had told them that he was a Jew. When Haman saw that Mordecai did not bow or pay him homage, Haman was filled with wrath. But he disdained to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had told him of the people of Mordecai. Instead, Haman sought to destroy all the Jews who were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, the people of Mordecai. Verse 7, in the first month, which is the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast pur, that is, the lot, before Haman to determine the day and the month until it fell off on the 12th month, which is the month of Adar. Then Haman said to King Xerxes, "There is a certain people scattered and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of your kingdom. Their laws are different from all other peoples, and they do not keep the king's laws. Therefore it is not fitting for the king to let him remain, and let them remain." Verse 9, if it pleases the king, let a decree be written that they be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver into the hands of those who do the work to bring it to the king's treasuries. So the king took his signet ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews. And the king said to Haman, "The money of the people are given to you, to do with them as seems good to you." Then the king's scribes were called on the 13th day of the month, and the decree was written according to all that Haman commanded. To the king's satraps, to the governors who were over each province, to the officials of all people, to every province, to every province according to its scripts, and to every people in their language. In the name of King Ahasuerus it was written and sealed with the king's signet ring. And the letters were sent by couriers into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to annihilate all the Jews, both young and old, little children and women, in one day, on the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar, and to plunder their possessions. Verse 14, a copy of the document was to be issued as law in every province, being published for all people, that they should be ready for that day. The couriers went out, hastened by the king's command, and the decree was proclaimed to Shushan, the citadel. So the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city of Shushan was perplexed. We're in chapter 4, verse 1. 1 minute. Verse 1, when Mordecai learned all that had happened, he tore his clothes and put on sackcloth and ashes and went out into the midst of the city. He cried out with a loud and bitter cry. He went as far as the front of the king's gate, for no one might enter the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province where the king's command and decree arrived, there was great mourning among the Jews with fasting, weeping, and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So Esther's maids and eunuchs came and told her, and the queen was deeply distressed. Then she sent garments to clothe Mordecai and take his sackcloth away from him, but he would not accept them. Then Esther called Het-Hak, one of the king's eunuchs, whom he had appointed to attend to her, and she gave him a command concerning Mordecai, to learn what and why this was. So Het-Hak went out to Mordecai in the city square that was in front of the king's gate. Mordecai told him all that had happened to him, and the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay into the king's treasuries to destroy the Jews. He also gave him a copy of a written decree for their destruction, which was given Shushan, that he might show it to Esther and explain it to her, that he might command her to go into the king to make supplication to him and plead before him for her people. So Hathach returned and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Verse 10, Then Esther spoke to Hathach and gave him a command for Mordecai. All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces know that any man or woman who goes into the inner court to the king, who has not been called, he has but one law, put all to death, except the one to whom the king holds out the golden scepter, that he may live. Yet I myself have not been called to go into the king these 30 days. So they told Mordecai Esther's words. And Mordecai told them to answer Esther, Do not think in your heart that you will escape in the king's palace any more than all the other Jews. For if you remain completely silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. Yet who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Then Esther told them to reply to Mordecai, Go, gather all the Jews who are present in Shushan and fast for me, neither eat nor drink for 3 days, night or day. My maids and I will fast likewise, and so I will go to the king, which is against the law, and if I perish, then I perish. Verse 17, So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther commanded him. And that is why we're going to leave it. Listen, she already said it. And so I will go to the king, which is against the law, in verse 16. And if I perish, I perish. And that is the vibe. That is the aura. That is whatever you want to call it. That is the discernment you need to be walking in. If you perish, you perish. The Lord's ways is the only way. People might think you're crazy. People might think that it's off. And it's really not. It's just that the world has gone so far off of this that they think this is crazy when they believe all the other junk stuff out there. So stand firm today for whomever needs to hear this, that his ways are good, and stand for truth, stand for ethical and moral decisions that align with God's word. Again, I don't know who needed to hear that, but hopefully that helps. But yeah, today's going to be an awesome day. Let's have a great day ahead. If you'd like to discuss or just prayer, hop on over to Instagram and Facebook, where I post daily 95% of the time. But yeah, I hope you have an awesome day. Stay blessed.